Live from New Delhi, you're watching the India Newshour, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next hour, Prime Minister Narendra Modi to inaugurate Indian space startup Skyroot's Infinity campus will also unveil its first orbital rocket, Vikram 1, with capability to launch satellites to orbit. US President Donald Trump calls shooting of 2 National Guard troops act of terror. Orders to deploy 500 additional troops, suspect identified as Afghan national.
This assault was an act of evil, an act of hatred, and an act of terror.
Death toll in massive Hong Kong apartment fire rises to 44. Hundreds more remain unaccounted. 3 suspects arrested. Efforts on war footing to tackle the blaze. Indian benchmark index Nifty hits fresh all-time high after 14 months. Sensex 2 rises on positive global sentiment. In sports, India ranked 6th in 2025 Deaflympics in Tokyo. Its best ever performance, winning a total of 20 medals. Medals include 9 gold, 7 silver and 4 bronze. Our top story, Prime Minister Modi will inaugurate Indian space startup Skyroot's Infinity campus on Thursday via video conferencing. The Prime Minister will also unveil Skyroot's first orbital rocket, Vikram 1, with capability to launch satellites to orbit. The state-of-the-art facility will have around 200,000 square feet workspace for designing, developing, integrating and testing multiple launch vehicles, with a capacity to build 1 orbital rocket every month. And Skyroot is India's leading private space company, founded by Pawan Chandana and Bharat Dhaka, both alumni of Indian Institutes of Technology and former scientists of ISRO turned entrepreneurs. In November 2022, Skyroot launched its suborbital rocket Vikram S, becoming the first Indian private company to launch a rocket to space. The rapid rise of private space enterprises is a testament to the success of the transformative reforms carried out by the government in the last few years, reinforcing India's leadership as a confident and capable global space power. And President Draupadi Murmu will address the inaugural session of 3rd edition of Chanakya Defence Dialogue 2025 in New Delhi on Thursday. The 2-day event will bring together national and international experts to deliberate on defence reforms, technological transformation, civil-military integration and India's emerging security priorities in the run-up to Viksit Bharat 2047. The Chanakya Defence Dialogue is being organised under the theme Reform to Transform, Sashakt, Surakshit or Viksit Bharat. Well, moving on, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh to co-chair the 3rd India-Indonesia Defence Ministers Dialogue with his Indonesian counterpart Syafri Samsudin in New Delhi. During the meeting, the 2 ministers will exchange views on regional security and multilateral issues, as well as explore avenues for further deepening bilateral defence collaboration. This 2-day visit of the Indonesian Defence Minister underscores the growing momentum in India-Indonesia defence cooperation and reflects the commitment on both sides to further deepen and expand the partnership. Civilizational ties between India and Indonesia go back thousands of years. Both nations are maritime neighbours, sharing cultural, civilizational and historical linkages that can be traced back to several centuries. Moving on, India's indigenously designed and built stealth frigate Indian naval ship Sahyadri on Wednesday arrived in Manila, Philippines as part of its operational deployment in the Indo-Pacific, underscoring India's commitment to enhancing maritime cooperation in the region. The visit follows the completion of multilateral and bilateral naval exercises, including Malabar 2025, OS Index 2025, JMX 25 and a maiden bilateral exercise with the Republic of Korea Navy. Prior to its port call in Manila, INS Ayadri conducted joint drills with the Philippine Navy, focusing on tactical communications, navigation and maneuvering, visit board, search and seizure operations and flying operations to refine mutual professional understanding. The deployment of INS Ayadri highlights India's growing naval cooperation with the Philippines. It reflects New Delhi's commitment to promoting peace, security and stability in Indo-Pacific, aligned with India's Act East policy and the vision of Sagar, which is security and growth for all in the region. Now, India and Sri Lanka carried out exercise Mitra Shakti 2025 in Belagavi, Karnataka, bringing their armies together for 2 weeks of coordinated tactical drills. The joint training focused on sub-conventional operations under a UN mandate, with troops practicing counter-terrorism maneuvers and semi-urban combat scenarios. The exercise strengthened interoperability and deepened mutual trust between the two forces, highlighting their shared commitment to regional peace and stability. Soldiers from India's Rajput Regiment and Sri Lanka's Gajaba Regiment trained side by side, reflecting a growing partnership shaped by years of defence cooperation. The exercise concluded with both sides reaffirming their resolve to enhance operational readiness. Moving on, a bust of B.R. Ambedkar, the chief architect of India's constitution, was unveiled at UNESCO headquarters in Paris on the occasion of Constitution Day on Wednesday. The bust was unveiled by Vishal V. Sharma, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of India to UNESCO, in the presence of UNESCO Director General Khalid Al-Ennani. Prime Minister Modi, in a social media post, described the unveiling of Dr. Ambedkar's bust at the UNESCO headquarters as a fitting tribute to the architect of India's constitution. The unveiling ceremony, which coincided with India's Constitution Day, was also a symbolic reaffirmation of shared commitments to human dignity, aligning with UNESCO's mission in education and cultural advancement. Updates on International Film Festival of India now. Day 8 of 56th edition of IFFI is going to witness a lot of action, including the screenings and gala premieres of Andhra King, Claudia and Manushya. Apart from that, there will be master classes led by leading filmmakers, including Nagarjun. The day will begin with the launch of commemorative stamp honouring filmmaker K. Vyakunt. The day will be filled with red carpet walks led by a film cast of the films being premiered on the second last day of IFFI. All right, we'll go across to Goa now. Deepika Mehto joins us live from there. Hi, Deepika. We are down to the final stretch. What's the mood on the ground as IFFI heads into its closing days?
Good morning, Abhishek. Yes, today is day 8 of the ongoing 56th edition of International Film Festival of India. Right from day 1, there have been a lot of premieres under different categories, right from international to Indian panorama to a special focus on the regional content as well. And this time, a special dedicated section has been given to the women filmmakers and the women creators, women artists as well. So the 8 days of IFFI have been really exciting. And today, when we talk about the 8th day, the day will begin with a commemorative stamp launch of former filmmaker, the late legendary filmmaker K. Vyakunt, in whose name the stamp will be launched by Chief Minister of Goa, Shri Pramod Sawant, today at Panjim itself. And after that, we are expecting red carpet walks by the different filmmakers, different artists and the cast and crew of the films that you just mentioned. Apart from that, the master classes, that has also been a flagship initiative of IFFI, will also be taking place. And there at the master class today, we are expecting Bollywood actor and director Amir Khan to lead the baton with his peace of mind and also sharing all his knowledge sessions with aspiring students. We are right now at the Kala Academy and the students have already started arriving here because there are many other master classes which are going to begin. Now, as we move closer towards the closing ceremony, which is scheduled for tomorrow, The awards will be announced. We will have the confirmation on that very soon, because there will be Golden Peacock Awards, Silver Peacock Awards that will be awarded on the final day, which is tomorrow. And we are also expecting, as per the reports, the honouring of N. Balakrishna. Apart from that, Rajnikant will also be honoured at the closing ceremony. We will have the final confirmation by the end of the day today. Now, apart from that, if we talk about the 8th day, there are cultural events also which are taking place, promoting India's culture to the global arena. Abhishek.
Also, Deepika, this is the 56th edition of IFFI. You're saying last 2 days left. Tomorrow will be the closing ceremony. But what does this festival mean for Goa in particular, Deepika? Economically, culturally, or in terms of visibility?
This is almost the 19th edition where Goa is hosting the International Film Festival of India. And Goa has been really proud. We heard straight from the Chief Minister himself, who said that through the organization of IFFI, because for IFFI, Goa is decked very beautifully. It is decorated very beautifully. The streets are decorated with lights and with different decorative items when IFFI takes place. So Goa not only hosts the prestigious event, but Goa always celebrates the prestigious event. So it is not only a place, it is not only an event that brings a lot of economic value to the state, but also there is a lot of tourist attraction. Goa is already a famous tourist destination when we talk about it, because of the beaches it has, the mountains it has, and IFFI is an add-on to the beauty of Goa. And when we talk about the film celebration, everybody has hailed, right from the filmmakers, the foreign filmmakers. Yesterday itself we were having a word with the famous, the editor of the famous film The President's Cake, that got an award at the Cannes Film Festival along with Biff, and he said that he loved coming to Goa. So many of the foreign filmmakers are hailing being here in Goa. So this is what Goa means to them. And apart from that, Goa also ensures that by offering the global stage to all these people, right from the Indians to the regional content to the global panoramas, it also ensures that it promotes the cultural heritage of India as well. You would have seen in the reports that there was a Indian attire-led fashion show that also took place at the 56th edition, boasting the Indian handloom. Abhishek.
All right, Deepika, before we leave you, you've told us about the biggest screenings, premieres or events lined up before the festival wraps. Tell us, Deepika, what all has been planned for the closing ceremony tomorrow, and also the main highlights of the 56th edition of IFFI so far.
As I told Abhishek, there will be Silver Peacock Awards, Golden Peacock Awards, and Balakrishna along with Rajnikant are being honored at the closing ceremony. Apart from that, there will be cultural performances by global stars, pop singers here at the closing ceremony. And of course, a special tribute to legendary late actor Dharmendra ji will also be paid at the closing ceremony. Abhishek.
All right, Deepika, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for your inputs. And today marks the final day of the India International Trade Fair, drawing crowds for last-minute shopping, exhibitions and pavilions showcasing innovation, handicrafts and global trade participation. Organizers expect a busy day as attendees make the most of last-minute shopping, networking opportunities and cultural displays before the fair concludes. Time now for a very short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India Newshour. Donald Trump says South Africa won't get 2026 G20 invite. And we'll get you updates on Russia-Ukraine conflict. Russia says Ukraine peace talks remain serious. And Peru sentences ex-president Vizcarra to 14 years in prison for corruption.
How much of India's democracy is really a British leftover?
It is outrageous to suggest that the British have any reason to applaud themselves that India is a democracy at the end of 200 years of colonial oppression. Those who demanded democracy were ruthlessly suppressed, arrested, beaten brutally, killed in many cases. There are very many countries that at different times in different ways became democratic without having to go through the great blessing of being oppressed, enslaved and colonized.
Welcome back. You're watching the India Newshour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Latest in the US shooting. President Donald Trump called it an act of terror. He also mentioned that the suspect has been identified and believed to have entered into the US territory from Afghanistan in 2021. Trump called for his government to re-examine Afghan immigrants who entered the United States during the former President Joe Biden's administration.
This heinous assault was an act of evil, an act of hatred, and an act of terror. It was a crime against our entire nation. It was a crime against humanity.
Earlier on Wednesday, 2 U.S. National Guard soldiers were shot near the White House in Washington. The shootings took place at the Farragut West Metro Station, 2 blocks from the White House, and in mid-afternoon when the streets and nearby businesses were packed. FBI Director Kash Patel said both soldiers, part of militarized anti-crime deployment around the United States ordered by Trump, were in critical condition. Washington Mayor Muriel Bowser called it a targeted shooting by a single gunman. And in the wake of Wednesday's shooting, Pentagon Chief Pete Hegseth said on Wednesday that President Donald Trump has asked for 500 additional troops to be deployed to Washington, D.C.
President Trump has asked me, and I will ask the Secretary of the Army, to the National Guard, to add 500 additional troops, National Guardsmen, to Washington, D.C. This will only stiffen our resolve to ensure that we make Washington, D.C. safe and beautiful. The drop in crime has been historic. The increase in safety and security has been historic. But if criminals want to conduct things like this, violence against America's best, we will never back down. President Trump will never back down. That's why the American people elected him. America and our warriors, our National Guardsmen, are strong.
And US President Donald Trump announced that South Africa will not be invited to take part in next year's G20 summit in Florida after Washington boycotted the Leaders' Summit in Johannesburg last week, which the African nation called a punitive measure against it. South Africa President Cyril Ramaphosa's office called Trump's post regrettable. Ramaphosa said that since the US delegation was not present at the summit last week, instruments of the G20 presidency were duly handed over to a US embassy official at the headquarters of South Africa's Department of International Relations and Cooperation. And since taking office for the second time in January, Trump has been critical of the South African government's domestic and foreign policies. Trump has repeatedly alleged that South Africa's black majority government persecutes its white minority and that there was a genocide of white farmers in the country, claims that have been widely discredited. In a White House meeting in May, Trump confronted South Africa's leader with false claims of white genocide. Trump said on Wednesday that his administration was going to stop all payments and subsidies to South Africa effective immediately. Trump signed an executive order in February to cut financial assistance for South Africa, citing disapproval of his land policy and of his genocide case at the International Court of Justice against Washington's ally, Israel. And US immigration authorities have detained the mother of White House Press Secretary Caroline Leivitz's nephew, a sign of the wide reach of President Donald Trump's immigration crackdown. A U.S. Department of Homeland Security spokesperson said in a statement that immigration authorities had arrested the woman, Brazilian national Bruna Caroline Ferreira, but declined to provide the exact circumstances. Ferreira had been taken into custody in Revere, Massachusetts, near Boston. DHS said Ferreira had entered the U.S. on a tourist visa and failed to depart, but her attorney, Jeffrey Rubin, said she was pursuing permanent residence and had previously had protection from deportation under a program for immigrants brought to the U.S. illegally as children. All right, now updates on Hong Kong fire. Firefighters were still dousing a devastating fire on Thursday, which ripped through a Hong Kong high-rise complex, killing at least 44 people and leaving hundreds missing, according to the authorities. Inferno, the financial hub's worst in decades, took hold on Wednesday afternoon in an 8-building housing estate with 2,000 apartments and sent shockwaves through the city, which has some of the world's most densely populated and tallest residential blocks. According to police, 3 men were arrested in connection with the fire after flammable materials left during maintenance work caused the blaze to spread rapidly beyond control. All right, we'll go across to DD India's Akshay Dongre for more. Akshay, what is the latest you can tell us on this story?
Well, Abhishek, the latest death toll that has been given by the authorities there, especially the firefighting department, is that 44 people have been confirmed dead in this blaze. That is, in fact, as you rightly mentioned, one of the worst one in Hong Kong. About 56 people are, according to the firefighting teams, being treated in the hospitals. About 24 are being treated for severe burns. They are in serious condition. About 16 are stable, but many more are expected to be treated in the hospital, as hundreds of people are still unaccounted for. Now, this is an 8-building apartment complex, and as far as the people are concerned, many are still unaccounted for. As far as the firefighting teams giving details about the residents of these apartments, they are stating that many of the people who were living here were elderly people who could not be evacuated from the building immediately, as because of the repair and maintenance work that has been going on. Many of the windows were shut, many of the entrances were also not functional. So it's in fact a very, very devastating tragedy that has taken place in Hong Kong. However, as far as the law enforcement agencies are concerned, they have arrested 3 people who have been charged with, or rather are being investigated for gross negligence after they left flammable substances near the repair work. So it seems that some bamboos there that were kept, some foams that are quite flammable of nature, they were kept near the maintenance site, and that has apparently caused the fire, which spread through the entire 8-building apartment complex in a matter of hours. So the situation remains critical, especially because many of the people who are unaccounted for are running out of time. They may be alive. Many of them may not be alive, and that is the worst fear of the authorities, that the death toll can go up significantly.
Akshay, you have told us about the extensive, is the damage to the residential complex and the surrounding areas too. But given Hong Kong's dense urban layout, what lessons are being drawn about fire safety in high-rise residential blocks?
Well, obviously there will be lessons from this, not only for Hong Kong, but for the rest of the world. As far as these kind of apartment buildings are concerned, the repair works that usually goes on in these kind of apartment buildings, and this is Hong Kong, one of the world's wealthiest city, one of the most advanced city in the world, and if this can happen in Hong Kong, it can happen anywhere in the world because of negligence. So it's a lesson to be learned from this fire, for the developing countries, especially who have these kind of who have dense populations in their cities, and these kind of high-rise apartment complexes coming up, repair works taking place on regular basis. Even for India, there are several lessons to be learned, but a thorough investigation is only going to ensure that the right causes, the right people are accounted for as far as this gross negligence is concerned. If it has happened with negligence, there are other angles also being probed, but that is for the investigative agencies to give more details about. But as of now, what we are learning is that 3 people have already been arrested, and investigation is taking place that what exactly has caused the fire and how it has spread so rapidly to the entire building complex.
All right, Akshay, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for your inputs. Moving on, updates on Russia-Ukraine conflict now. Russia said Wednesday that ongoing talks to end the conflict in Ukraine were serious after earlier welcoming parts of a new US plan to halt Russia-Ukraine crisis. Russian officials cautioned that an agreement remained distant, with US envoy Steve Witkoff expected in Moscow next week for more discussions. In televised comments, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said the negotiations were ongoing and the process is serious. Washington has not released the updated plan, which President Donald Trump described as a refined version of an earlier 28-point outline dismissed by Kiev and European governments as overly favorable to Moscow. Trump and U.S. Army Secretary Dan Driscoll, who has met Russian representatives, signaled cautious optimism. Kremlin aide Yuri Ushakov said the draft needed deeper evaluation, noting that some points were positive while others required expert review. And the European Parliament on Wednesday agreed on a resolution which calls for a default minimum age of 16 on social media to ensure age-appropriate online engagement. The draft calls for a harmonized European digital age limit of 13, under which no minor could access social media platforms, and an age limit of 13 for video sharing services and AI companions. Parliament's resolution also called for a ban on loot boxes, virtual items that can be won or bought with real money, and on engagement-based recommender algorithms for minors, as well as legislation to require age-appropriate content design. The Parliament resolution is not legally binding and does not set policy. Some more stories now. The IMF announced on Wednesday that it has reached a preliminary agreement with Ukraine on a new program that could provide more than $8 billion in fresh financing as the country continues to struggle after over 3 years of conflict. The fund said Ukraine remains committed to preserving economic stability and restoring debt sustainability. The new arrangement outlines fiscal and monetary measures intended to support these goals and is expected to help attract significant external funding to bridge Ukraine's financial gaps. The deal follows discussions held from November 17 to 21st and must still be approved by IMF's executive board. The IMF noted Ukraine has completed 8 successful reviews under its previous program, though risks remain high given the uncertain course of the conflict and future international support. Now, a Peruvian court on Wednesday sentenced former President Martin Vizcarra to 14 years in prison after finding him guilty of taking bribes years before he took office, adding to a list of former leaders jailed for corruption. According to the verdict, Vizcarra accepted bribes equivalent to $676,000 from construction firms in exchange for public works contracts while serving as governor of the southern Moquegua region from 2011 to 2014. Throughout the trial, which began last October, Vizcarra denied the charges, claiming he was a victim of political persecution. He came to power in 2018 after his predecessor resigned and was ousted 2 years later by Congress amid graft investigations. 3 other former presidents are also in jail. Alejandro Toledo and Ollanta Humala are both serving time for corruption convictions. Pedro Castillo is being held while on rebellion charges. Now, military officials in Guinea-Bissau said they had seized total control of the coup-prone West African country on Wednesday, arresting its president, closing its borders and suspending its electoral process 3 days after general elections. Earlier, heavy gunfire erupted near the presidential palace as soldiers secured key access roads. General Denis Nkanha said a joint command of all armed forces would govern the country until further notice. Mbalo, considered the front-runner for re-election, was being held at military headquarters along with the Chief of Staff and the Interior Minister, officials said. The army claimed it had uncovered a destabilization plot involving local drug traffickers and illicit weapons. The military halted the electoral process, shut media outlets, imposed a curfew and emptied Bissau's streets.
Until the entire situation is duly clarified and conditions are restored for a full return to constitutional normality, the High Military Command for the Restoration of National Security and Public Order has decided to immediately remove the President of the Republic, close until further notice all institutions of the Republic of Guinea-Bissau, suspend until further notice the activities of all media outlets, immediately suspend the ongoing electoral process, close land and maritime borders and the national airspace, establish a curfew from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m.
All right, still to come on this edition of DD India Newshour. 33 die as floods ravage Thailand and Malaysia. Indonesia races to evacuate stranded residents as flood death toll hits. 28.
Baramulla is set in Kashmir. It's a chilling investigation of missing children in the valley, but with a twist.
We wanted to shed light on that topic because it is reality. It's not something that is not fiction.
हर kidnapping ransom के लिए नहीं होती है.
So Gulnar goes into the other world, the world of shadows. You cannot explain it logically.
We were just more concerned that we should be able to fit everything, and that took, I think, 2 years.
And I'm really grateful that the audience right now is calling it that a new age horror has really been born in this country right now with Baramulla.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Recap of our top stories. Prime Minister Modi to inaugurate Indian space startup Skyroot's Infinity campus will also unveil its first orbital rocket Vikram 1 with capability to launch satellites to orbit. US President Donald Trump calls shooting of 2 National Guard troops an act of terror, orders to deploy 500 additional troops, suspect taken into custody. Death toll in massive Hong Kong apartment fire rises to 44. Hundreds more remain unaccounted. 3 suspects arrested. Efforts on war footing to tackle the blaze. Indian benchmark index Nifty hits fresh all-time high after 14 months. Sensex 2 rises on positive global sentiment. And in sports, India ranks 6th with 20 medals in 2025 Deaflympics in Tokyo, its best ever performance. Medals include 9 gold, 7 silver and 4 bronze. A news just coming in, a train hit railway workers in southwest China, killing 11. State media reported after the crash in Yunnan province. The incident occurred when the train, which was testing seismic equipment, struck the workers who had entered the track at a curved section inside the Luoyang town railway station in the city of Kunming. The cause of the crash was under investigation. And in Thailand, 3 days of torrential rain dumped record volumes. Thailand's southern commercial hub on Hat Yai, flooding hospitals and stranding thousands on rooftops. At least 33 people have died in the flooding. Thai rescue workers waded through flood water under the lights of emergency vehicles on Wednesday night, evacuating people. Thailand airlifted patients and flew critical supplies, including oxygen tanks, into the submerged southern city. The Thai military has mobilized boats, helicopters, and even its lone aircraft carrier to deliver supplies and evacuate the sick. Floods have swept through 9 Thai provinces and 8 states in neighboring Malaysia for a second successive year, prompting both countries to evacuate nearly 50,000 people. And floods and landslides in Indonesia's North Sumatra province have killed at least 28 people as Southeast Asia grapples with deadly flooding. On Wednesday, country's meteorological agency stated that a tropical cyclone blew past Indonesia's Sumatra island, causing heavy rains and overflowing the nearby Malacca Strait that led to the floods and landslides. Officials also stated that 5 people went missing, and Sibolga and central Tapanuli were the hardest hit areas with disrupted communications and power. Fallen trees blocked roads in the province and excavators dug through piles of mud to find the missing. And US military aircraft were seen on Wednesday at the former Roosevelt Roads Naval Base in Ceiba, Puerto Rico, in what appeared to be a show of force as Washington prepares for a new phase of Venezuela-related operations. On November 24, the United States top military officer and US President Donald Trump's military advisor Dan Kane traveled to Puerto Rico as Washington continues one of its largest naval deployments in the Caribbean in decades, escalating tensions with Venezuela over alleged anti-drug operations. Kane also met with troops stationed in Puerto Rico and aboard a Navy warship in regional waters. Reports of possible moves have intensified in recent weeks as the US military oppositions assets closer to Venezuela amid deteriorating relations with President Nicolas Maduro's government. And a woman was killed and a man seriously injured after a shark attacked two swimmers at Kyle's Beach in Crowdy Bay National Park on the east coast of Australia. The pair was bitten and the bystanders applied first aid, including a makeshift tourniquet that likely saved the man before he was airlifted to hospital in critical condition. Unfortunately, the woman was killed before the rescue. Authorities have closed nearby beaches while experts work to identify the shark, and a report will be prepared for the coroner. Pope Leo begins his first trip outside Italy as Catholic leader on Thursday with a visit to Turkey, where he is expected to make appeals for peace in West Asia and urge unity among long-divided Christian churches. The first US Pope chose Turkey as his first overseas destination to mark 1700th anniversary of a landmark early church council there that produced the Nicene Creed, still used by most of the world's Christians today. Pope Leo, who has a crowded three-day itinerary in Turkey before heading on to Lebanon, will be closely watched as he makes his first speech overseas and visits sensitive cultural sites. Now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Turkey unveils around 30 new Neolithic era discoveries at Göbekli Tepe and Karahan Tepe, including rare human and animal statues, offering deeper insight into early rituals, symbolism, and the transition from hunter-gatherers to settled communities over 11,000 years ago. Hollywood celebrities including Danny Trejo and Jodie Sweetin teamed up with Los Angeles to serve Thanksgiving meals to homeless and low-income communities. The initiative comes at a time when many Americans are struggling with rising living costs, and volunteers said the event aimed to bring comfort, hope, and a sense of togetherness to those facing hardship this holiday season. The 99th Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade balloons were inflated, featuring 34 giant characters, including new additions Buzz Lightyear and Labubu. The parade is going to run from West 77th Street to Macy's Herald Square, attracting millions of spectators both in person and on television. Travelers across major US airports reported unusually short lines and minimal delays on typically hectic day before Thanksgiving. Many passengers expressed surprise at the smooth flow through security and boarding. The calm travel period comes just weeks after the government reopened following the record 43-day shutdown that left air traffic controllers unpaid. All right, still to come on this edition of DD India Newshour. Global stocks edge higher and Wall Street climbs on growing hopes for lower interest rates. The Women's Premier League is all set for its grandest moments as it prepares for the mega auction of Season 4, all set to take place today at 3:30 p.m. IST. And France's Strasbourg Christmas market opens to crowds to celebrate the Christmas festivities. Welcome back. You're watching the India Newshour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Business updates now. Indian benchmark indices Sensex and Nifty surged on Thursday. Nifty hit a fresh record high after 14 months, while the Sensex gained at the open, lifted by supportive global cues. The Sensex rose over 300 points to trade above 85,850, while the Nifty climbed 77 points. Most sectoral indices opened on a mixed note. However, the IT index traded slightly in the red, and consumer durables slipped nearly 0.5%, indicating some profit booking in rate-sensitive and discretionary pockets. Also, global stocks mostly rose on Wednesday, with Wall Street equities gaining on hopes of lower interest rates, while the British pound advanced on the government's unveiling of a new budget. US equities rose for a third straight day as momentum builds following comments in recent days from Federal Reserve officials signaling another potential interest rate cut next month. All three major US indices climbed again, led by the tech-rich Nasdaq, which rose 0.8%. In Europe, London stocks advanced and the pound pushed higher as the centre-left Labour government delivered a tax-raising budget aimed at curbing debt and funding public services. The yield on UK 10-year government bonds dipped, a sign that investors retain confidence in Finance Minister Rachel Reeves having control over public finances. All right, so Indian benchmark indices Sensex and Nifty has surged on Thursday, and Nifty has hit a fresh record high after 14 months, while the Sensex also gained at the open, lifted by supportive global cues. All right, we'll go across to DD India's Ajay Mishra. He has more information on this. Hi Ajay, tell us what are the key factors driving the Nifty to a new all-time high.
Good morning. I think it's a great day for the markets because after 14 good months, both Nifty and Sensex have scaled to a new all-time high. Nifty has gained 2600 and 300 mark, while the Sensex have attained this all-time high of 86,000. There are a couple of regions, both fundamental and the technical side. I think there are expectations on the earnings, on the positive earnings side. People believe, the analysts believe that going forward in the second half of this financial year, the corporate earnings are going to be better, and we will have a broad-based earnings recovery, which means the performance of the companies going forward in the third and fourth quarter will be better than first and second. That's number one. Also, people are expecting that there might be some positive signs from the US-India trade deal, and also the Fed might cut interest rates in the December. That's what most of the analysts are now expecting. The expectation of this rate cut by the US Fed has gone up from 30% to 80% as per the latest survey. And we also understand that there is a RBI policy review happening next week, so we can have some kind of positive impact on the interest rate sides. So it is the banking and financials along with the IT. These are the two sectors which has added up to this all-time high of Nifty and Sensex. But it has been a very good news after 14 long months where most of the performance, the Indian indices vis-a-vis the emerging markets were overvalued, and that overvaluation has moderated in the last 14 months, and now it is a good time technically both and fundamentally for the Indian markets that the bull run may continue from here onwards.
Right. Ajay, also like you're saying, good day for the market. What does this mean for investors? Are retail investors seeing this as an opportunity, or is there any caution in the air? And also, what are analysts saying about the sustainability of this upward trend?
I think they are, cautiously optimistic in the sense that many of the counters that have not performed well since September 2025, and there might be good reason for picking and choosing some of the valuable stocks that has not performed in the last 14 months or so. So there are very good large cap indices which have not performed. But people are believing that the recent cabinet decision on the rare earth metals mining sector, which is going to give a boost to the metal sector, might be a good pick onwards. GMDC, for example, have gained 10% in the last 2 days after this cabinet approval on this rare earth mining policy. Going forward, I think the IT and FMCG, these are the two sectors which has not performed well in the last 14 years. So people are expecting that there were reasons both in India as well as the trade deal and things around that. So IT and FMCG are the two sectors where the retail participants might pick some good stocks to have a positive bearing on their portfolio. But it's optimistic. It's a cautiously optimistic scenario, as they say. But we'll have to keep an eye on number of factors, including the technical ones, where the technical analysts are saying that now the bull candle have started showing its result on the charts. But again, the retail investors have to be cautious, as always, advised from the experts.
All right, cautiously optimistic, you are saying. We'll leave it at that, Ajay. Thank you for your inputs.
Thanks.
India Global Forum has launched a $250 million fund to support high potential Indian consumer industrial brands in expanding to global markets, positioning Dubai as the hub for their international growth. Announced at IGF Middle East 2025, the initiative marks a new era of India-UAE collaboration, and Dubai's connectivity and IGF's networks will help Indian companies scale across the Middle East, Africa, Europe and beyond. The program integrates IGF's business, government and innovation network with Dubai's logistics ecosystem through DP World. India's ambassador to the UAE, Dr. Deepak Mittal, said that India and the UAE are well positioned to navigate an uncertain global environment. He highlighted that deep political trust, economic complementarities and strong people-to-people ties have reinforced their partnership over the past decade.
Priority would be to look at speed with which we can work to realize. We are talking about MSMEs, maybe Africa Connect or bilateral investment opportunities. The speed with which we can work to realize and implement it on the ground. For me, the priority would even be to remain solution-oriented. But the priority for me is how to see the opportunities and say that how the work can be get done.
All right, sports updates now. We'll start with Deaflympics. India delivered an impressive performance at the 25th Summer Deaflympics in Tokyo. Team India finished 6th with a total of 20 medals, including 9 gold, 7 silver and 4 bronze medals. Ukraine topped the medal table with 100 medals, followed by the USA with 36, while host nation Japan secured 3rd place with 51 medals. Shooter Mahit Sandhu, competing in her first Deaflympics, won 2 gold and 2 silver medals and proudly carried the national flag as India's flag bearer at the closing ceremony. In karate, Loma Swen made history by becoming the first Indian to win a bronze medal. This year's performance marked a significant improvement from the previous Deaflympics in Brazil, where India won 16 medals. And the Women Premier League is set for the biggest moment of this year as it gears for the mega auction for the 4th season on November 27. The event promises drama, strategy and excitement as 5 franchises battle it out to rebuild their squads.
The Women's Premier League 2026 mega auction returns for the 4th season. This time it carries huge weight, especially after the historic World Cup triumph of the Indian women's team. A total of 277 players, 194 Indians and 66 overseas will go under the hammer. But with only 73 slots available, including 23 for foreign stars, competition will be fierce. Teams must spend wisely, balancing marquee names with emerging talent. The UP Warriors enter the auction with the biggest purse of Rs 14.5 crore, giving them a clear advantage. The Gujarat Giants follow with Rs 9 crore, while Mumbai Indians, Delhi Capitals and Royal Challengers Bengaluru have tighter budgets, each under Rs 6.5 crore. Only auction will tell which team will have the strongest squad. 8 marquee players headline the auction. India's Deepti Sharma, fresh from her Player of the Tournament performance at the Women's ODI World Cup, is expected to spark bidding wars. The only other Indian who features in the list is pacer Renuka Singh Thakur, released by RCB with a base price of Rs 40 lakh. Among the overseas stars, Australia's wicketkeeper batter Meg Lanning, New Zealand sensation Amelia Kerr, Sophie Ecclestone, and Proteas World Cup hero Laura Walbot carry base prices of Rs 50 lakh. Former cricketer Anjum Chopra was all praise for the marquee strength as she talked about the possibilities lying ahead.
It will be obviously exciting to watch 8 marquee players getting into the auction pool. How are they stacking up in the auction pool against each other, and also how are the franchisees looking at these 8 players in the marquee pool? So that will be very interesting for me because that will be the first group that comes up for in the auction.
Marquees first doesn't mean no scope for the uncapped players. Beyond the big Indian stars are several uncapped sensations who would like to make it big in the auction. World Cup winner Southpaw N. Sri Charani joins the list, followed by two-time WPL title holder Yashtika Bhatia. Among the under-19 World Cup prospects, all eyes are on the hat-trick girl Vaishnavi Sharma from Madhya Pradesh. Team strategies will be shaped by retentions and RTM cards. Mumbai Indians and Delhi Capitals have retained 5 players each, leaving them with no RTMs. RCB retained 4 and hold 1 RTM. Gujarat Giants kept 2 with 3 RTMs, while UP Warriors retained just 1 uncapped player but hold 4 RTMs, the most among all. Royal Challengers Bengaluru's Smriti Mandhana currently holds the tag of the most expensive player in WPL history. Will she be dethroned finally? Only time will tell. For now, with marquee sets, uncapped talent, and international stars all in play, the WPL auction is set to showcase the growing structure of women's cricket in India and beyond. Shobhit Chandola's report for DD India.
And India's long-anticipated bid to host 2030 Commonwealth Games received formal approval on Wednesday at the Commonwealth Sport General Assembly in Glasgow. Ahmedabad will host the Commonwealth Games in 2030. India will host the Games after a gap of 20 years, having last hosted in 2010 in New Delhi. DD India's Narayan Singh brings us this report.
Delighted to confirm that India, Ahmedabad, is hereby duly appointed by unanimous resolution as the host of the 2030 Games.
India's sporting story has turned a glorious new page. The country has officially been chosen to host the 2030 Commonwealth Games. The announcement came on Wednesday at the Commonwealth Sports General Assembly in Glasgow, marking a key milestone in India's journey toward becoming a global multi-sport hub. Ahmedabad has been selected as the host city, reflecting its rapidly expanding sports infrastructure and growing capacity to handle major international competitions. This will be India's second time hosting the prestigious event, the first being in 2010. Taking to social media platform X, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also expressed his admiration. He wrote, "Delighted that India has won the bid to host the Centenary Commonwealth Games 2030. Congratulations to the people of India and the sporting ecosystem. It is our collective commitment and spirit of sportsmanship that has placed India firmly on the global sporting map. With the ethos of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, we are eager to be celebrating these historic games with great enthusiasm. We look forward to welcoming the world." Unquote. Meanwhile, in India, a celebratory event was held at the Major Dhyan Chand Stadium, which was attended by Sports Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandavia, members of the IOA and athletes.
हम भारतीयों के लिए गौरव की बात है कि इस 2030 में 100वीं कॉमनवेल्थ गेम्स हैं और हमारे लिए ये गेम्स भारत में आयोजित हो रही है, इसलिए मुझे विशेष गर्व भी है, खुशी भी है। दोस्तों, मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में स्पोर्ट्स सेक्टर बदल रहा है। पिछले एक दशक में देश के अलग-अलग 18 से अधिक सिटी में 22 से अधिक बड़ी टूर्नामेंट का आयोजन हुआ है।
Ahmedabad's bid to host the Commonwealth Games had received a significant boost last month when the executive board proposed Gujarat's city as host for the 2030 Centenary Games. It will mark 100 years since the inaugural Commonwealth Games held in Hamilton, Canada in 1930. In recent months, Ahmedabad has successfully hosted events like the Commonwealth Weightlifting Championships, Asian Aquatics Championships, and the AFC Under-17 Asian Cup qualifiers. A major catalyst in this transformation is the upcoming Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel Sports Enclave. The world-class complex will feature an aquatic center, a football stadium, indoor arenas, and the iconic Narendra Modi Stadium.
As India opens its door to the Commonwealth Games 2030, it is not just preparing stadiums and facilities, it's building belief, ambition and future where global sports finds a second home. With camera person Jena, Narayan Singh, DD India, Delhi.
And fans across the city of Naples paid tribute to the football legend on his 5th death anniversary. A video of Diego Maradona was played on the big screens at the stadium ahead of Napoli's Champions League match against Karabakh. From the stands to the streets of Naples, chants of Diego echoed throughout the city. Widely regarded as one of the greatest footballers of all time, Maradona transformed Napoli into a powerhouse, leading the club to its first ever Serie A title in 1987 and 1990. In the honor of his legacy, Napoli's stadium was renamed Stadio Diego Armando Maradona following his passing in 2020. As festive lights glow from Dresden's centuries-old Streisel Market to France's Strasbourg Market, towering 30-meter Christmas tree, and even through the regal halls of Windsor Castle, Europe steps into the holiday season with tradition, sparkle and strengthened security. Crowds gather and millions come together to celebrate a time of comfort and joy. All right, we'll go across live now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate Indian space startup Skyroot's Infinity Campus by video conferencing.
माननीय प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी, विशिष्ट अतिथिगण, स्काईरूट टीम और यहां उपस्थित सभी महानुभावों को मेरा नमस्कार। आज का दिन हम सभी के लिए, विशेष रूप से पूरी स्काईरूट टीम के लिए अत्यंत गौरवशाली और सम्मानीय है। स्काईरूट एरोस्पेस के इन्फिनिटी कैंपस का उद्घाटन और विक्रम 1 ऑर्बिटर रॉकेट की अनवीलिंग केवल एक नई फैसिलिटी की शुरुआत, किसी तकनीकी उपलब्धि का प्रदर्शन नहीं है, बल्कि यह उस विजन का साकार होना है जिसे माननीय प्रधानमंत्री सर आपने दृढ़ विश्वास के साथ आगे बढ़ाया है। आपका मानना रहा है कि भारत का स्पेस सेक्टर कुछ चुनिंदा संस्थानों का तक सीमित न रहे, बल्कि ऐसा मंच बने जहां अनगिनत भारतीय युवा, इनोवेटर्स, एंटरप्रेन्योर्स और ड्रीमर्स अपनी कल्पनाओं को साकार कर सकें। जब आपने लगभग 3.5 वर्ष पहले इन स्पेस हेडक्वार्टर का उद्घाटन किया था, तब आपने हमारे लिए एक स्पष्ट लक्ष्य निर्धारित किया था कि स्पेस सेक्टर को डेमोक्रेटाइज किया जाए, प्राइवेट एंटरप्राइज को बढ़ावा दिया जाए और अंतरिक्ष को सामाजिक, आर्थिक और राष्ट्रीय क्षमताओं को हर उन भारतीयों तक पहुंचाया जाए जो आसमान से आगे सोचने का साहस रखते हैं। आपने उस क्षण को भारत की स्पेस इंडस्ट्री के लिए वॉच दिस स्पेस वाला क्षण कहा था। फास्ट फॉरवर्ड टू टुडे, आज हम एक सशक्त स्पेस टेक इकोसिस्टम का निर्माण कर चुके हैं, जहां 300 से अधिक स्टार्टअप्स उभर कर सामने आए हैं। एक ऐसे ही स्टार्टअप स्काईरूट एरोस्पेस की शुरुआत 2 प्रतिभाशाली युवा इंजीनियर्स श्री पवन कुमार चंदना और श्री नागा भरत डाका ने की थी। उनका सफर ये दर्शाता है कि जब उद्यमशीलता की भावना, सहायक नीतियां, टेक्नोलॉजिकल एक्सीलेंस और राष्ट्रीय उद्देश्य एक साथ आते हैं तो बड़े से बड़ा लक्ष्य भी संभव हो सकता है। माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी, आज आपकी उपस्थिति से इस क्षण की गरिमा कई गुना बढ़ गई है। आपके प्रेरणादायी नेतृत्व के लिए और आपने आज जो समय हमारे लिए निकाला है उसके लिए आपके तहे दिल से आभार। धन्यवाद। अब मैं स्काईरूट के को फाउंडर श्री पवन चंदना से को आमंत्रित करता हूं, वो अभी हमारे अपनी यात्रा के बारे में हमें कुछ बताएं।
Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji, Bharat and I founded Skyroot inspired by your Startup India movement with just one dream: to open space for all. And this dream became possible only after your historic space reforms, which opened up the sector to private players. This created close to 400 startups, more than 4,000 high-tech jobs, and nearly 4,000 crores of investment in just 4 years. In India's space journey, I consider two icons define history: Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, who laid the foundation, and Shri Narendra Modi, who unlocked its future. With your reforms and the support of InSpace and ISRO, we successfully launched Vikram S, India's first private rocket, on 18 November 2022. You turned barriers into bridges, red tape into red carpet, and made space accessible to private sector. Today, we are ready with Vikram 1, India's first private commercial rocket, fully designed and built in India. And with the help of InSpace and ISRO, we plan to launch it in the next 2 months. And with Vikram 1, India will join the top 3 nations where a private company can launch a satellite into orbit. Modi ji, your vision empowers young founders to build boldly for India and for the world. And even sky is no limit under your leadership. And we are confident India will become Viksit Bharat well before 2027. Jai Hind.
धन्यवाद पवन। अब मैं भरत से विनम्र करता हूं।
Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji, on behalf of Team Skyroot, my sincere gratitude. Your decisive space reforms have unlocked the skies for us to fly. Today, Skyroot generated over 1,000 high-tech jobs, and we will invest over 1,000 crores in the near future to emerge to become one of the very few companies worldwide to achieve rapid and on-demand launch capability. The facility you're inaugurating today, Infinity, is India's largest private rocket factory. And this will allow us to build and integrate one Vikram rocket every month. And these rockets are made of advanced carbon fiber composites and 3D printed engines. We support your national goal of 50 launches a year by 2030, and we assure you Skyroot will be a key driver of that mission. For every entrepreneur in this country, you are the founder of a new India and the architect of Viksit Bharat. Your leadership gives us the confidence to take bold risks and aim higher. We deeply appreciate the constant guidance and support we receive from InSpace and ISRO, who stand with us at every critical milestone. We are genuinely grateful for your time today, Modi ji, and we look forward to your message and your blessings as we take this next step.
Thank you, Bharat. May I now request a small video to be played about the Infinity campus and Vikram 1 rocket.
In 2018, an idea was born, a private rocket company from India. 2 young dreamers founded Skyroot Aerospace, driven by an audacious mission to open space for all. Their dream was fueled by a revolutionary reform by Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, a reform that enabled Indian startups to aim beyond the sky. And in 2022, enabled by InSpace and ISRO, Skyroot made history. Vikram S, India's first private rocket, was launched to space. And that was just the beginning. Today, they have grown from 2 to over 1,000 space professionals. And now, Skyroot takes another leap. Welcome to Infinity, India's largest private rocket factory that can roll out 1 rocket every month. Spanning 200,000 square feet, Infinity is a space to design, to build, to integrate, and to test. Equipped with advanced environment control manufacturing bays, clean rooms, automated filament winding systems, precision CNC machines, propulsion labs, avionics labs, and more. Here, we realize infinite possibilities. Infinity builds upon the foundation we established with MaxQ, our headquarters and India's first private integrated rocket design and development facility. This is an expansion that will propel India's private space revolution to build rockets at scale, as India aims to reach $44 billion space economy by 2033 and 50 launches per year by 2030, as envisioned by the Honorable Prime Minister. And it all begins with Vikram 1, India's first private commercial rocket, getting ready for a historic launch in early 2026 from Indian soil. Standing as tall as a 7-story building, Vikram 1 is engineered to deploy multiple satellites to Earth's orbit. This is India's first launch vehicle made entirely from carbon fiber. Lighter, stronger, more efficient. Its engines 3D printed. Its booster stage, Kalam 1200, is India's largest privately developed rocket stage. Every component, every system, precision engineered by Team Skyroot. 100% designed and made in India. From a vision to reality, from 2 people to over 1,000, from a small office space to India's largest private rocket factory. Today, we stand at the threshold of history again. We're honored to welcome Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi to inaugurate Infinity and reveal the flight-ready Vikram 1 to the world. A factory fueling the next chapter of India's space journey. A rocket that will open space for all. From India to infinity.
This video is a testament to increasing capacity and capability of Indian private sector in advanced aerospace manufacturing and rocket technology. माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी, अब मैं आपसे विनम्र अनुरोध करता हूं कि कृपया अपने समक्ष दिए गए बटन को दबाकर इन्फिनिटी कैंपस का वर्चुअल उद्घाटन करें और विक्रम 1 ऑर्बिटल रॉकेट को अनवील करें। The rocket unveiling, please. आपके सामने इंडिया का पहला प्राइवेट सेक्टर का ऑर्बिटल रॉकेट सामने मौजूद है। आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री सर, अब मैं आपसे निवेदन करता हूं कि कृपया भारत के उभरते इन संभावनाओं से भरे स्पेस सेक्टर के भविष्य पर अपने अमूल्य विचार प्रस्तुत करें और हमें अनुग्रहित करें।
कैबिनेट में मेरे साथी श्री जी किशन रेड्डी जी, आंध्र प्रदेश के उद्योग मंत्री श्री टी जी भरत जी, इन स्पेस के चेयरमैन श्री पवन गोयनका जी, टीम स्काईरूट, अन्य महानुभाव, देवी और सज्जनों, साथियों, आज देश स्पेस सेक्टर में एक अभूतपूर्व अवसर का साक्षी बन रहा है। आज भारत के स्पेस इकोसिस्टम में प्राइवेट सेक्टर बड़ी उड़ान भर रहा है। स्काईरूट का इन्फिनिटी कैंपस भारत की नई सोच, इनोवेशन और सबसे बड़ी बात यूथ पावर का प्रतिबिंब है। हमारी युवा शक्ति की इनोवेशन, रिस्क टेकिंग एबिलिटी और एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप आज नई बुलंदी छू रही है। और आज ये कार्यक्रम इस बात का प्रतिबिंब है कि आने वाले समय में भारत ग्लोबल सैटेलाइट लॉन्च इकोसिस्टम में एक लीडर बनकर उभरेगा। मैं पवन कुमार चंद्रा और नागा भर डाका को बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं देता हूं। आप दोनों नौजवान देश के अनेक यंग स्पेस एंटरप्रेन्योर्स, हर युवा के लिए बहुत बड़ी प्रेरणा है। आप दोनों युवाओं ने खुद पर भरोसा किया। आप रिस्क उठाने में पीछे नहीं रहे और इसका परिणाम आज पूरा देश देख रहा है। देश आप पर गौरव कर रहा है, गर्व कर रहा है। साथियों, भारत की अंतरिक्ष यात्रा बहुत सीमित संसाधनों से शुरू हुई थी, लेकिन हमारी महत्वाकांक्षाएं कभी भी सीमित नहीं रही। वो भी एक जमाना था, एक साइकिल पर रॉकेट का हिस्सा ले जाने से लेकर दुनिया के सबसे भरोसेमंद लॉन्च व्हीकल तक भारत ने सिद्ध किया है कि सपनों की ऊंचाई संसाधन से नहीं, संकल्प से तय होती है। इसरो ने दशकों तक भारत की स्पेस यात्रा को नई उड़ान दी है। क्रेडिबिलिटी, कैपेसिटी और वैल्यू, हर प्रकार से भारत ने अपनी अलग पहचान बनाई है। साथियों, हम सब जानते हैं कि बदलते हुए इस समय में स्पेस सेक्टर का कितना विस्तार हो रहा है। ये कम्युनिकेशन, एग्रीकल्चर, मरीन मॉनिटरिंग, अर्बन प्लानिंग, वेदर प्रिडिक्शन और नेशनल सिक्योरिटी का आधार बन चुका है। और इसलिए ही हमने भारत के स्पेस सेक्टर में ऐतिहासिक रिफॉर्म्स किए। सरकार ने स्पेस सेक्टर को प्राइवेट इनोवेशन के लिए ओपन किया। नई स्पेस पॉलिसी तैयार की गई। हमने स्टार्टअप्स को, इंडस्ट्री को इनोवेशन के साथ जोड़ने का प्रयास किया। हमने इन स्पेस की स्थापना की, अपने स्टार्टअप्स के लिए इसरो की फैसिलिटीज और टेक्नोलॉजी को उपलब्ध कराया। यानी भारत ने बीते 6-7 वर्षों में ही अपने स्पेस सेक्टर को एक ओपन, कोऑपरेटिव और इनोवेशन ड्रिवन इकोसिस्टम में बदल दिया है। आज के कार्यक्रम में हमें इसी की झलक दिखाई दे रही है और गर्व की अनुभूति हो रही है। साथियों, भारत का युवा देश हित को सर्वोपरि रखकर चलता है। वो हर अवसर का सही इस्तेमाल करता है। जब सरकार ने स्पेस सेक्टर को ओपन किया तो देश के युवा और खासकर हमारे जेन जी यूथ इसका भरपूर फायदा उठाने के लिए आगे आ गए। आज भारत के 300 से अधिक स्पेस स्टार्टअप्स भारत के स्पेस फ्यूचर को नई उम्मीदें दे रहे हैं और इसमें भी खास ये कि हमारे अधिकार और हमारे अधिकतर स्पेस स्टार्टअप्स इसकी शुरुआत बहुत छोटी टीम से हुई है और मुझे इन सबको पिछले 5-6 साल में लगातार मिलने का अवसर मिला है। कभी 2 लोग, कभी 5 साथी, कभी एक छोटा सा किराए का कमरा। टीम छोटी थी, संसाधन सीमित थे, लेकिन इरादे नई बुलंदी छूने के हैं। यही वो भावना है जिसने भारत में प्राइवेट स्पेस रिवॉल्यूशन को जन्म दिया है। आज ये जेन जी इंजीनियर्स, जेन जी डिजाइनर्स, जेन जी कोडर्स और जेन जी साइंटिस्ट नई नई टेक्नोलॉजी बना रहे हैं। प्रोपल्सन सिस्टम हो, कंपोजिट मटेरियल्स हो, रॉकेट स्टेजेज हो, सैटेलाइट प्लेटफॉर्म्स हो, भारत का युवा आज उन क्षेत्रों में काम कर रहा है जिनकी कुछ साल पहले कल्पना भी संभव नहीं थी। भारत का प्राइवेट स्पेस टैलेंट पूरी दुनिया में अपनी अलग पहचान बना रहा है। आज ग्लोबल इन्वेस्टर्स के लिए भारत का स्पेस सेक्टर एक अट्रैक्टिव डेस्टिनेशन बन रहा है। साथियों, आज दुनिया में छोटे सैटेलाइट्स की डिमांड लगातार बढ़ रही है। लॉन्च फ्रीक्वेंसीज भी बढ़ रही है। नई नई कंपनियां सैटेलाइट सर्विसेज देने लगी हैं और स्पेस अब एक स्ट्रेटेजिक एसेट के रूप में जगह बना चुका है। इसलिए आने वाले वर्षों में ग्लोबल स्पेस इकोनॉमी कई गुना बढ़ने वाली है। ये भारत के युवाओं के लिए बहुत बड़ा अवसर है। साथियों, भारत के पास स्पेस सेक्टर में जो कैपेबिलिटी है, वैसी कैपेबिलिटी दुनिया में केवल कुछ ही देशों के पास है। हमारे पास एक्सपर्ट इंजीनियर्स हैं, हाई क्वालिटी मैन्युफैक्चरिंग इकोसिस्टम है, वर्ल्ड क्लास लॉन्च साइट्स हैं और इनोवेशन को प्रोत्साहन करने वाला माइंडसेट है। भारत की स्पेस कैपेबिलिटी कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव भी है और रिलायबल भी है। इसी वजह से दुनिया की भारत से बहुत अधिक उम्मीदें हैं। ग्लोबल कंपनीज भारत में सैटेलाइट बनाना चाहती हैं, भारत से लॉन्च सर्विसेज लेना चाहती हैं, भारत के साथ टेक्नोलॉजी पार्टनरशिप चाहती हैं और इसलिए हमें इस समय का ज्यादा से ज्यादा फायदा उठाना चाहिए। साथियों, आज जो बदलाव हम स्पेस सेक्टर में देख रहे हैं वो भारत में हो रहे स्टार्टअप रिवॉल्यूशन का हिस्सा है। बीते एक दशक में अलग अलग सेक्टर्स में स्टार्टअप्स का नया दौर शुरू हुआ है। फिनटेक हो, एग्रीटेक हो, हेल्थ टेक हो, क्लाइमेट टेक हो, एजुटेक हो, डिफेंस टेक हो, हर क्षेत्र में भारत के युवा, हमारे जैन जी नए समाधान दे रहे हैं और आज मैं दुनिया के जैन जी को भी बड़े आत्मविश्वास से कह सकता हूं कि अगर जैन जी के लिए सच्चे अर्थ में कहीं से प्रेरणा मिल सकती है तो भारत के जैन जी से मिल सकती है। भारत के जैन जी की जो क्रिएटिविटी है, भारत के जैन जी की जो पॉजिटिव माइंडसेट है, भारत के जैन जी की जो कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग है, ये अपने आप में पूरी दुनिया की जैन जी के लिए आदर्श बन सकती है। आज भारत दुनिया का तीसरा सबसे बड़ा स्टार्टअप इकोसिस्टम बन चुका है। एक समय था जब स्टार्टअप का मतलब केवल कुछ बड़े शहरों तक सीमित था, लेकिन आज भारत के छोटे छोटे शहरों और गांवों से भी स्टार्टअप निकल रहे हैं। आज देश में 1.5 लाख से अधिक रजिस्टर्ड स्टार्टअप्स है। अनेकों स्टार्टअप्स यूनिकॉर्न बन चुके हैं। साथियों, आज भारत केवल एप्स और सर्विसेज तक सीमित नहीं है। हम अब डीप टेक, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग और हार्डवेयर इनोवेशन की ओर तेजी से आगे बढ़ रहे हैं। थैंक्स टू जैन जी। आप सेमीकंडक्टर सेक्टर का ही उदाहरण लीजिए। सरकार ने जो ऐतिहासिक कदम उठाए हैं वो भारत के टेक फ्यूचर की नींव को मजबूती दे रहे हैं। आज देश में सेमीकंडक्टर फैब्रिकेशन यूनिट्स, चिप मैन्युफैक्चरिंग और डिजाइन हब्स बहुत तेजी से विकसित हो रहे हैं। चिप से लेकर सिस्टम तक भारत अब एक मजबूत इलेक्ट्रॉनिक वैल्यू चेन तैयार कर रहा है। ये आत्मनिर्भरता के संकल्प का हिस्सा तो है ही, इससे भारत ग्लोबल सप्लाई चेन का एक मजबूत और भरोसेमंद पिलर भी बनेगा। साथियों, रिफॉर्म्स का हमारा दायरा भी लगातार बढ़ रहा है। जैसे हमने स्पेस इनोवेशन को प्राइवेट सेक्टर के लिए ओपन किया, वैसे ही हम एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण सेक्टर में भी कदम उठाने जा रहे हैं। हम न्यूक्लियर सेक्टर को भी ओपन करने की तरफ आगे बढ़ रहे हैं। इस सेक्टर में भी हम प्राइवेट सेक्टर की सशक्त भूमिका की नींव रखने जा रहे हैं। इससे स्मॉल मॉड्यूलर रिएक्टर, एडवांस रिएक्टर्स और न्यूक्लियर इनोवेशन में अवसर बनेंगे। यह रिफॉर्म हमारी एनर्जी सिक्योरिटी और टेक्नोलॉजिकल लीडरशिप को नई शक्ति देगा। साथियों, आने वाला भविष्य कैसा होगा, ये बहुत कुछ आज हो रही रिसर्च पर भी निर्भर करता है। इसलिए हमारी सरकार का बहुत जोर युवाओं को ज्यादा से ज्यादा रिसर्च के मौके देने पर भी है। हमने राष्ट्रीय अनुसंधान फाउंडेशन का गठन किया है, जो आधुनिक रिसर्च के लिए यूथ को सपोर्ट करता है। वन नेशन वन सब्सक्रिप्शन, इससे सभी छात्रों की इंटरनेशनल जर्नल्स तक पहुंच आसान हुई है। 1,00,000 करोड़ के रिसर्च डेवलपमेंट और इनोवेशन फंड से देश भर में युवाओं को बहुत मदद मिलने वाली है। हमने 10,000 से अधिक अटल टिंकरिंग लैब भी खोली है, जो स्टूडेंट्स में रिसर्च और इनोवेशन की भावना जगा रही है। आने वाले दिनों में हम ऐसी 50,000 नई अटल टिंकरिंग लैब बनाने पर काम कर रहे हैं। सरकार के ये प्रयास भारत में नए इनोवेशन की बुनियाद बना रहा है। साथियों, आने वाला समय भारत का है, भारत के युवाओं का है, भारत के इनोवेशंस का है। कुछ महीने पहले स्पेस डे के अवसर पर मैंने हमारी स्पेस एस्पिरेशंस की चर्चा की थी। हमने तय किया था कि आने वाले 5 वर्षों में भारत अपनी लॉन्च क्षमता को नई ऊंचाइयों तक ले जाएगा। हमने ये भी निश्चय किया था कि भारत के स्पेस सेक्टर में 5 नए यूनिकॉर्न तैयार होंगे। स्काईरूट की टीम जिस प्रकार आगे बढ़ रही है, उससे ये तय है कि भारत अपने हर लक्ष्य हासिल करके रहेगा। साथियों, मैं भारत के हर नौजवान को, हर स्टार्टअप, साइंटिस्ट, इंजीनियर, एंटरप्रेन्योर को भरोसा देता हूं। और मेरे नौजवान साथियों, ये मेरी गारंटी है, सरकार हर कदम पर आपके साथ खड़ी है। मैं एक बार फिर स्काईरूट की पूरी टीम को बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं और उन सभी लोगों को शुभकामनाएं देता हूं जो भारत की स्पेस जर्नी को नई गति दे रही है। आइए, धरती हो या फिर अंतरिक्ष, 21वीं सदी को भारत की सदी बनाएं। आप सबका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं।
All right, so Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated Indian space startup Skyroot's Infinity Campus via video conferencing, also unveiled rocket Vikram 1. After the inauguration, he said, today the country is witnessing an unprecedented development in the space sector. Skyroot's Infinity Campus is a reflection of India's new thinking, innovation and youth power. Our youth innovation, risk-taking and entrepreneurship are reaching new heights, he said. In the future, India will emerge as a leader in the global satellite launch ecosystem. He also congratulated the young entrepreneurs too and said that both of you are a great inspiration for the youth. We are all proud of you. He talked about India's space journey, also how it started with limited resources and where it has reached now. Also spoke about how the space sector is expanding. He said that we carried out historic reforms in the space sector, formulated a new space policy tried to connect startup industry with innovation established in space, and also said that India has transformed the space sector into an open, cooperative and innovation-driven ecosystem in the last 6-7 years. He said he also spoke about how Gen Z youth is taking full opportunity. He mentioned about how India's space talent is making its mark across the world and said our intentions are to reach new heights. Also said that the global space economy is set to grow exponentially in the coming years and Indian youth have a huge talent, huge opportunity in this sector. He also spoke about Atal Tinkering Labs, that 10,000 labs have been set up, have been opened and plan to scale it further. And in the end, he said that the future belongs to India, to India's youth, to India's innovation. So this was primarily the gist of what he said, and we'll have a detailed story in our subsequent bulletins. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.